The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, in a statement, condemned the United States' action as a clear violation of the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding and declared that we will defend the country's sovereignty, security, and national interests with all our power. The statement by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs emphasized, the defensive strikes by Iran's powerful armed forces against targets linked to the aggressor American forces were carried out on this basis, and responsibility for the consequences of this situation rests with the aggressor and treaty-breaking U.S. regime and its accomplices. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs described the U.S. airstrikes on several locations along Iran's southern coast on Friday evening as savage and a clear violation of Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the United Nations Charter, as well as an explicit violation of Clause 1 of the Memorandum of Understanding ending the war. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs statement also described the Zionist regime's attack on Lebanon, carried out in coordination with the United States, as a clear violation of Clause 1 of the Memorandum of Understanding ending the war.
Is Iran's swift response warning really a countdown clock to revenge, signaling that every new move by Washington could now trigger an immediate and punishing reply? Are U.S. forces back on Iran's revenge list once again, as commanders hint that American bases and assets across the region are being re-evaluated as potential targets? Did Washington think it could violate the deal quietly in the shadows, only to find Tehran loudly accusing it of crossing red lines written into the memorandum itself? Is Iran's promised swift and decisive revenge already in motion, with statements and strikes suggesting the response has begun before the ink on the deal has even dried? Is the IRGC now preparing its biggest retaliation yet, using the language of broken articles and violated clauses as the legal cover for a new wave of attacks? Amid a fresh round of US-Iran escalation, Tehran is now openly accusing Washington of breaking the peace deal that was meant to calm the region. On June 27th, a senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader charged that the United States had violated key terms of the Memorandum of Understanding. Mohsen Rezaee argued that US backing for its regional allies amounts to a breach of the deal's first article, which Tehran says requires de-escalation on all fronts. Rezaee warned that any violation of any article will be met with a swift, decisive response, turning legal language into a direct threat of retaliation. Mohsen Rezaee said, and I quote, "America, by supporting the actions of its proxy forces in the region, has violated the first article of the Memorandum of Understanding, and by continuing to create tensions in the Strait of Hormuz, has violated the fifth article. The response to the violation of any article of the Memorandum of Understanding will be swift and decisive." Unquote. Iran has condemned US strikes on southern coastal sites on June 26 as a breach of the UN Charter, portraying them as illegal aggression on its soil. Tehran says the attacks specifically hit coastal surveillance sites inside Iranian territory, framing them as strikes on defensive infrastructure. Iranian officials claim their armed forces later hit US-linked targets in a retaliatory response, insisting they answered force with calibrated force. Iran's foreign ministry has urged Gulf states to deny their territory and airspace for any future US attacks, trying to cut off Washington's launch pads. Tehran has also called on the United Nations not to ignore what it labels a blatant violation, seeking diplomatic backing to counter US justifications. Washington, for its part, says its strikes came in response to an earlier attack on a ship crossing the Strait of Hormuz, casting the operation as self-defense. The US military reports that missile, drone, and radar sites were targeted during the operation, aiming to degrade Iran's ability to threaten shipping. The IRGC claims its naval forces then struck US positions across the region in response, suggesting this exchange has already gone beyond a single tit-for-tat. The IRGC has vowed an even harsher response if the current escalation continues, warning that Washington should not test how far Iran is prepared to go next. Days after the US-Iran Memorandum of Understanding, President Trump acknowledged that Iran still retains some military capability. Trump said Iran is not winning, but admitted the country still has the ability to launch attacks. His latest remarks appeared to contrast with earlier claims that the US and Israel had crippled Iran's military.
It's one of the biggest things ever to happen in the Middle East, the killing of Soleimani. People have said it's the biggest thing to happen in 100 years because he was a dominant force. I actually think that Khomeini and all of the people in Iran were happy about it because they were afraid of him too. Over the past few weeks, the stock market and your 401ks skyrocketed upward like pretty much nobody's seen before. Oil prices are plummeting downward, and the world is a much safer place. We had to take that detour to knock out Iran. If we didn't do that, and we still have a fight. They have some capability, not much. They're not winning or anything, but they have some capability. They can still shoot. They shot a drone yesterday at a big ship going into the Hormuz Strait. They shot 4 of them. We knocked down 3 of them. One of them, I guess, we didn't miss it. Nobody saw it coming. And it hit a ship and did some damage. But you can't do that stuff. But very soon we're going to be at $2.50 gasoline. We're doing much better this time. And again, we did have to make that excursion. How would you like to be given the best numbers we've ever had as a country and tell people, guess what, we're going to war, and nobody in the room knew what I was talking about because it wasn't their thing. And I said, we got to stop them from having a nuclear weapon. Because you want to see problems? Let a crazy country have a nuclear weapon. You'll see problems like you've never seen before.
Trump linked his remarks to the recent drone attack on commercial shipping near the Strait of Hormuz. The president said 4 Iranian drones were launched, with 3 intercepted and 1 striking a cargo vessel. U.S. officials said the Singapore-flagged MV Ever Lovely was damaged in the incident but remained afloat. Tehran did not claim responsibility for the attack but defended its authority over approved shipping routes. Iran also warned that vessels using unauthorized routes could lose access to safe passage through the strategic waterway. IRGC Navy warned ships to use only Iran-approved maritime routes while transiting the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. The force said any transit outside officially designated shipping corridors is prohibited, according to Press TV. In a June 25 statement, the IRGC described the use of unauthorized routes as both unacceptable and potentially dangerous. The Navy said all vessels must coordinate with Iranian authorities before entering or transiting the waterway. The warning came days after Chief Negotiator Baghir Ghalibaf pledged what he called a new reality in Hormuz. Iran's parliament speaker said the crucial shipping lane would never return to its pre-war operating conditions. The issue of Hormuz restrictions remains one of the most sensitive unresolved matters, following the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding. The agreement signed by Washington and Tehran seeks to halt the cycle of escalation, confrontation, and retaliation. Under the MOU, Iran agreed to facilitate commercial shipping through the corridor during a 60-day implementation period. However, Tehran has repeatedly stressed that safe passage remains conditional on coordination with Iranian authorities.